Hello, my friends. Doug here from Albuquerque in New Mexico, and this is a podcast about all the yarny, woolly things. And I welcome you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. I have a lot of fun things planned today, pen stuff, knitting stuff. But first of all, I wanted to chat with you about everything that's been happening in the past weeks. I was gone for a little bit longer, and I had mentioned before that I had some travels planned. I was visiting our daughter with my husband in New York City, and we were chased out a day, 1.5 days early by that brutal blizzard, you may remember. And then we spent a little bit of time in Florida in St. Augustine and Tampa area, where it was super nice because the weather was also a little bit chilly at times. But one of the highlights was meeting Andrea of Journals for Breakfast, who was actually the inspiration of one of my projects, which I'm gonna share in a minute, of course. Let me start by telling you about the cardigan I'm wearing. I made this a few years ago, and this is a microfiber held with some kind of a summer yarn. I think the microfiber was a solid color, and the color variation was in the other yarn. I am sorry, I cannot tell you anything about this. I made it up. But I really like it a lot. I take it often on trips where I expect warmer weather or kind of like in between weather. And it has the 3/4 sleeves, and it is just a little bit over waist length. Yeah, for New York, about the New York part of the trip, I did want to tell you one thing. I brought, you know how it is, you go somewhere where it's cold. You are not sure, what will I need in terms of clothing? You bring a hat, of course, and you bring your sweaters, some sweaters, and you also bring a shawl. In my case, what I have been wearing the whole time while we were there and we were walking around outside was the Moab shawl. And so this is a shawl that I made maybe 2 years ago. It's the Moab shawl by Very Busy Monkey, and I made it with 3 skeins of my yarn, Zia Wool's Desert Candy, which is a blend of alpaca and merino, which I love very, very much because it's incredibly cozy. And I chose to take this on the trip because I thought, well, I'm going to wear a warm jacket and a warm sweater. So I didn't want anything too bulky to go down on me. So what I like about this, it's kind of a more shallow shawl, but still long. So you can wear the middle to the front and then wrap it around and tie it. If you are familiar with the pattern, you may say, wait, this doesn't look at all like the Moab. I had to alter the edge a little bit. I can't remember what exactly I did. Hopefully it's in my project notes on Ravelry. I am paper dag on Ravelry. I'd love for you to stop by and friend me. I always say that. But another big change that I made was to knit the top section in stockinette and not in garter stitch as she does in the original. And the reason was that the yarn, this colorway, it's called the Lover, and it's very variegated. And so it was just getting overwhelming with the garter, and it's so much nicer with the stockinette. I'm glad I made that decision. It's a great shawl, and it was the perfect choice to bring on this trip. Yeah. Didn't bring you my hat, the hat that I wore. Maybe next time. But I have made something that you have not seen in the meantime, and it's also a hat, and I was hoping maybe I would get it done before. I mean, kind of like while we were in New York City, but that didn't happen. And that's this hat. Yeah. I'm gonna put it on for you. I love this yarn. I bought it almost 5 years ago in Utah, and it's spa yarn. The base is Sequoia. It's a bulky singles yarn, and that colorway was so beautiful and spoke to me back then when I was in that yarn store. But I never knew. I mean, I of course I figured it's going to be a hat, but in the end, what I did was I decided for my own pattern, the trail runner hat. Of course, I had to make some changes because it turned out that this yarn was a little bit thinner than the yarn that I had initially wrote the pattern for. What I really liked was when I picked it up again, I hadn't made a trail runner hat in a few years either. And so I changed my stitch count to 80 stitches for this. And I did the tubular cast on, and oh my God, this is so perfect for this hat. If you want to look at the trail runner hat, it has a pattern up here, and it's also, I think it has the potential to be longer, but this one, I had this much yarn left, believe it or not. By now I threw that bit away, but that's it. Serious yarn chicken, but also 3 times I lost on yarn chicken. So 3 times I had to rip back and start my decreases earlier. Normally what I like in a hat, I like that dorky, kind of a little bit more pointy, taller style, but in this case I just didn't have the yarn. When I got back from our travels, I immediately went on to update my knitting journal, because stuff like this and other things that you haven't seen yet, they were all not in the book yet. And if you have not seen this book yet, I want to tell you that it is Spiral Bound by Red Barn Collections. And hopefully she has updated her website by now. I'm not sure, because she did a big move from Utah back to the East Coast. But I have ordered several books from her, and all of my books were custom made. And what that means is I sent her, Brooke is her name, I sent her a book of my choice and had her spiral bind it, and you can have her supplement the additional pages for the book. For this one, picked my own paper because I wanted it to work for fountain pens and watercolor. I mean, it's not perfect, but it works. enough. So here is the page for the hat. So I only do like basic notes like needle size, in this case 5 millimeters for the tubular cast on, then 5.5, and then I switched to 6.5 millimeters. And but I never wrote down how I did the crown because it's not my favorite style, even though it looks good. Can you tell? It's okay, but like I said, others I would like better. So, and if you say, hey, Doug, here you have a larger piece of yarn left over. No, this was not a leftover. This was a bit that I had from tying the skeins. You know how the skeins, the hand-dyed skeins, are tied up? And so this was one of those bits. Yeah, and then so I'm gonna take this off again. Yeah. Did I finish telling you why? Yeah. No, I didn't. Sorry. I meant to say that the original pattern has you knit up here a pattern, stitch pattern, which I decided not to do. Oops, sorry. Because of the beautiful speckled yarn, I did not want anything to distract from the pretty yarn. Glad I finally used that. Also, I have made 2 pairs of mitts and 1 pair of socks. The socks and 1 pair of mitts were for my daughter's boyfriend, very warm mitts that were initially meant to be for my husband, but I don't know what I thought. They turned out huge, but then I thought, oh, that's going to be great. Maybe he's going to wear them. And well, that was just before it got really cold again. So he's been wearing those, and I have I had finished the socks that you had seen in the last episode. I had and gifted those to him, and he's been wearing them apparently. My daughter tells me, and actually I did get pictures also. Yeah, so that was nice. The mittens were initially also meant for me, and I wanted to wear them in New York City, and that yet again didn't happen. Of course, now I have fluff because this is some of the yarn that I used, and it is Angora or Angora blend, and I held it with this gorgeous worsted yarn, which was dyed by a local dyer, Desert Wools. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful yarn. I so enjoyed knitting that up. I was a little bit uncertain because I held 2 yarns together. I held the Angora with this yarn. I wasn't sure if I would have enough of this gorgeous purple. So I decided to make the ribbing with this beige that complements it very nicely. And I only managed to finish the mitts when we were already in Florida, but I sent them to my daughter to New York City because I thought she would love them, and she is gonna get more wear out of them. And she actually told me that these are the warmest that I've made for her, and I think it's because of the Angora. And yeah, these I thought also, and that was the other reason why I sent them to her. I made up the pattern. There's no pattern. I used 5 millimeter needles, and these fitted so well that I thought she's also they're going to fit her very well too. This is the yarn that I used for the men's mittens. Yeah, but this is how this page looks like. Yeah, all of that. Loved updating the knitting journal. And those were the little things I got done. And as you know, I was trying to finish the sweater for my husband and I was running out of yarn. Yeah. The only person that had the yarn that I was missing as a de-stash never got back to me. And that was kind of sad, and I waited. I gave her some time, and but I don't know if she didn't see it or she didn't have the yarn anymore. Who knows? Who knows? Not important, because at some point I got so desperate that I contacted other people that had the yarn in their stash. And what I'm talking about is Knit Picks Stroll Sport, which I used for my husband's sweater, which is the Hanswurst by Petite Knit, and I use 4.5 millimeter needles for that, and I held the Knit Picks Stroll yarn with a light fingering yarn that I had dyed to match. I finished the sweater. Now I'm not sure, did I finish it the day before we left or on the trip, but I had known that I couldn't finish the yarn, and wow, 10 minutes after I had sent out messages to 10 or so people on Ravelry, a woman got back to me and she even offered to send me her 2 balls that she had free of charge. Wow, right? So nice. So, well, good karma comes from good things. And so I first of all, good karma for her, but also I sent her three balls of yarn, like German sock yarn, and also a skein of sock yarn that I had dyed. So I'm sure she was happy about that too. So my husband's sweater was finished before the trip. Did he wear it? Once. Yeah, it turned out really nice, and I ended up using both balls of yarn. The second one, I only used part of it, but I'm glad I had 2 more balls, because I mean, you don't want a very warm sweater to be too short. You want it to cover your back, and yeah. So that was a little bit of drama, and it turned out good in the end. Yeah, he likes it. It fits him well, and that was a win-win. And I have a nice picture of my 2 people wearing the sweaters that I made for them that I will put in here for you, because I took that picture at our Airbnb. And in case you wonder, did we stay with our daughter? No, because why? Not because she doesn't love us, but because New York apartments are mini. So her place was mini, but luckily we found an Airbnb on her street, 5 minutes by foot away from her. Wow, that was so cool. Yeah. I had hoped to finish my Ivy sweater before the trip. I was on the knitting retreat in Winslow, which was fun as usual, but I did not knit as much on the sweater as I thought I would, and I'm talking about My Ivy by Petite Knit. I finished it a few days ago. Making sure I show you the right side. I am so happy with how it turned out. There was, however, a little bit of an issue, as you may or may not see. I did not alternate skeins when I started my third balls of yarn for the sleeves, and there was a break in the color here. It's still visible, but barely. And I did want to mention it because you need to know this can happen even when yarn is dyed specifically to go into one project. So yeah, it happens. I ended up, because I have another, it turned out I have another sweater in a similar color. So I thought, oh, well, why don't you over dye the whole thing? That'll help with that break in the yarn color. And then it's going to be more distinctly different from the sweater in the similar color. So that's what I did. And it's a process that is slow. You put the wet sweater, it's a little bit scary. Yes, I know. You put the wet sweater into the dye bath and you slowly raise the temperature. And I think that was a little bit of a challenge. Of course, then you have to make sure that you move the sweater constantly. I think I did that every 5 minutes, and I think it took about 45 minutes until all the dyes were absorbed. Yeah, worked out really great. I'm very happy with the sweater now. I'm gonna put that on and show you. It looks so good. I really, really like how it turned out. I made, if you remember, hold on. A few weeks ago, I had made the same sweater for my daughter in a warm, soft brown color. And I knew my gauge was not spot on. Sorry, fluff flying around here. So I knitted hers in a size large, but of course that helped me to determine the right size that I wanted to make for myself. And I ended up choosing size extra large, which I almost regretted later because I thought it would also have been okay in a size large for me. I made this one a little bit longer on the bottom than hers, and I shortened my sleeves a little bit compared to hers. And all these specifics I wrote down, and they're all on my project page, on the project page on Ravelry, which I thought is important because I have made kits for sweaters, and I call them sweetheart kits because they were just finished for Valentine's Day. A lot of them are already sold, and I have not added them to my shop, but I brought them to show you for one important reason. These colors are literally impossible to photograph. And so if that is something that you're interested in, let me know. And they consist of 3 skeins of Ziawul's Desert Candy and 3 skeins of Ziawul's Velvet. And they're the last ones that are still here. Sorry about the rustling. This is the color. Yeah, it's interesting. In video, they show okay. In photos, I just have not been able to take good pictures that show the color as it is. So that one was Will You Be Mine? This one is Latte with Caramel. This is probably the most variegated of all the kits. And of course you don't have to make an ivy, but as you can see, ivy is a great choice for these. And then we have, oh man, this is so noisy, latte macchiato. This is very similar to what I had used for my daughter's sweater, but a little bit different. Still a little bit different. Yes, so 2 sweaters, a hat, and other little things finished, but now I wanted to show you what have I been working on. Did I bring yarn to be ready to get snowed in? Yes, I did. I could have gotten snowed in when that blizzard came. It would not have mattered to me. Whereas my husband, he would have scratched the walls. I had plenty of projects. I brought my birds of a feather. I don't have a pattern picture, sorry people, but that's a pattern by Andrea that you probably know. So I've been working on this one, and yes, very subdued color for me, and not my typical scheme, but I just love it. I fell in love so much with this colorway, which is Boulder Crush on honeysuckle, and Boulder Love on velvet. Yeah, I'll just keep slowly, continue slowly working on that one. Working always sounds so terrible. It sounds like I have to do this, but I don't. I enjoy it. We all do, don't we? Then I have already told you that I finally started the cardigan that Andrea of Journals for Breakfast inspired me to. I got interrupted by the handyman. We had water damage in the kitchen ceiling, so hopefully this is going to be finished up today. The workers came, they had to do their color match. Not that you care, sorry. Rambling on. So, where were we? The Tani cardigan. I was inspired by this, inspired to make this by Andrea of Journals for Breakfast. She showed it on her podcast. And she talks usually about paper and about journaling, as you may guess from the channel name, but she's also a knitter. It was wonderful to meet her in person in St. Augustine in Florida, but also she brought her cardigans. How awesome was that? And I did not take enough pictures, but I'm gonna pop in something here. It was so, we have spent the afternoon together, and it was just, time just flew by. It was wonderful to hook up and chat about all the things that we both share the same love for, like writing, journaling, and yarn and knitting. So by now you have seen in the last episode, you saw the yarn that I picked for the cardigan, and by now I have started. And what attracted me so much to this cardigan is the fit on the shoulder. That looked, when she showed that, I was amazed. And now that I have started the cardigan, it's just as I expected. It's just so written, a pattern that's written with so much love for detail. I am so impressed. really, really love it. It's hard to show at this point, as you can imagine. So I thought I'm just gonna pop it on the hanger. So maybe you get a little bit of an idea. So yeah, I had decided to use a yarn that I had in my stash. I forced myself. I thought, yes, I can knit from stash. But then I dyed up. I decided to use my 3 skeins of Harriet Fine by Juniper Moon Farm, which is a super soft alpaca yarn, and I'm holding it with this, which is Zia Wool's Velvet again, which I dyed to match this. I had to dye up 4 skeins to get the yardage to hold with the Harriet Fine, and that was a bit of a challenge. I mean, I already talked to you about how hard it can be, even with the most attention, to get yarns that are identical, but 4 yarns, that was worse. That's why none of the kids have 4 and 4 skeins for a larger size garment. Unfortunately, I did not feel comfortable offering that in the shop. This, however, for myself, I'm going to be okay. And so I have 4 skeins. I did my swatchy right here, and I am making the cardigan with needle size, I want to say needle size 4, but let me confirm that for you. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yes, 4 millimeters. And if you think about making this, be aware that the pattern calls for 3.75 needles. I wanted larger needles, and this is how my gauge still not quite matches, but I think I'm going to be okay. And the yeah, and oh yeah, I did want to show you what I love about this also already from the get-go. Look at that. Do you see my notes on the bottom? You have right away on the front page, you get to fill in the size that you're making, the gauge that you got. For me, it's like 1 stitch more to the 4 inches or 10 centimeters, and my needle's 4 millimeters, and the yarn. That's so lovely. And in case you wonder, the Harriet Fine is the colorway Indigo. Yeah, it also has a number, but it's called Indigo. Yeah, I'm excited that I'm using a yarn from Stash, and I'm always excited to combine it with one of my yarns in this case. Yeah, the velvet makes everything so soft. Not that this wasn't soft from the get-go. Harriet Fine is incredibly lovely, and I wish they had more colors. And the last project that I've been working on is something that I am so mega excited for. I've been talking about this for a while, and finally I started. Yes, I started the ooey gooey cowl, another pattern by Andrea Mowry. And hello, all you spinners out there, don't use spin cycle yarn, use what you have spun. This is one of my hand-dyed, hand-spun yarns in a sport weight. I hope you can see the nice, slow variation this has. Oh, yeah, great choice. I even by now forgot if I just chose these as the fluffy color before and went to the bin with the hand spun yarns to find something to complement this, or if I chose this, I'm sorry, here, or if I chose this and then dyed up this, doesn't matter, but whatever. The result, you hold, by the way, two of the Sori alpaca lace yarns together, and I'm using 4mm needles. I am not paying attention to row gauge, even though Andrea Maury asked that you do that. Sorry, rebel alert. And this is where I am right now. What do you think? You start, by the way, with a provisional cast on, a crochet cast on, in case you wonder what that pink does. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Hi. This is so much fun. And half of the fun is the color change that happens in the hand spun. Andrea Maury asks for spin cycle yarn, which of course you don't need to do if you are a spinner and you have anything fun in your stash. And we all do, don't we? Yeah. So, I just want to tell you, I am trying to knit a few rows on this every night, and I do not have to twist my arms to do this because it's just so much fun to watch what happens with the next color progressions. Yeah, so fun. Yes, and this is it in regards to knitting, but I did bring my newest yarn acquisitions, which I brought from Florida. Hold on. I went to a store that was recommended to me by Andrea, and it's in Ormond Beach. And the store is called She Sells Yarn. And is it called She Sells Yarn and More? That's funny. Well, She Sells Yarn. She Sells Yarn. I think it's a reference to She Sells Yarn by the Seashore, that tongue twister thingy. And I bought 4 skeins of yarn. I almost bought, in addition to the yarn I walked out with, I almost bought a sweater's quantity, but then I thought, lady, you are going to knit up what you have set aside in regards to garments first and not buying more. Also, you're a dyer, you can do that. That would have been another $150, which I wasn't up to spending at that point. I'm glad I didn't, because then I remembered even another sweater, 2 sweaters, 3, 4 that I have set yarn aside. Let's not get into that. Whew. So I got 4 skeins. 2 of them are gifts, so I'm not going to show them to you. But this one was I just had to get this. And look at that, it even came with a little stitch marker. And it is a self-striping hello at a very, very reasonable price. So I don't even know how she can do it for $28. I cannot wait to knit with this. Glitter too. Yeah. Can't wait. But I have to say that I have, I think, 4 other pairs of socks in the making. So I force myself not to start this, but something needs to get finished first. This one is one of those random skeins where sometimes you're like, why do I do that? I buy all these individual skeins, but this one, it's just so beautiful. It had to happen. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, love it. And the yarn company is Swan. Is that called Swan City? Swan City Yarn. I had never heard of them. Yeah. And it's a base that I carry too, so I could even like dye something solid and have a like a shawl where I combine it. It's the merino silk and cashmere base, which I call honeysuckle. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, beautiful yarn. And also they deserved my business because honestly, they win the gold medal for the most friendly greeting at a yarn store. Seriously, they were concerned about my husband not getting bored. They were friendly even before they knew that someone who's a local customer had sent me there. And so I thought that was extremely, extremely nice. Yeah, I did go to another yarn store in Florida, and the reason being that I did not ever go to the beach. Don't ask. Like every time when it was warm enough, it could not be worked into the day, and other times it was too chilly, so don't ask. I was not happy leaving Florida, not having been at the beach. Well, whatever. I found another very nice store in Brooksville, and they have their own line of hand-dyed colors, and this is one of those yarns. So apparently the owner has these dyed to her specifications. And they also have a bunch of yarns that are inspired by local businesses. I think I remember there was nothing that grabbed me in that color line, even though I thought that the idea was super nice. So apparently what they do is they talk to local places, businesses, like for example, I think I remember the golf club. So they asked someone, what are your favorite colors? And then they have something dyed up to match those colors. How cool is that? Yeah. Love that concept. Yeah. But this one made the cut for me. I did buy a worsted weight, and I thought that would make a lovely hat for me. Could have bought more. Lots of beautiful line of hand-dyed yarns that, yeah, I was really impressed with. A whole wall. Yes, and this is it from me today. I hope you also have some fun knits on the needles, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.